Albert Speer does not often beg. He is Reich Minister of Armaments and one of the most powerful men in Nazi Germany, and begging is not a tool available to men in his position. But in March 1944, he and General Walter Dornberger walk into Hitler's office and do something close to it. They need von Braun released, not pardoned, not quietly forgotten, released, returned to his desk, and never touched again. The V2 depends on it. The war depends on it. They make the argument, and Hitler accepts it. Von Braun walks out of that Gestapo cell and goes back to work. The file stays open. The SS does not close it. They add to it. And when the war ends 13 months later, that file passes from German hands to American ones. The new owners read it. They make a note. And then they do exactly what the SS did. They decide he is too valuable to hold accountable. The file they read is specific. SS membership, records of personal visits to the Dora-Mittelbau tunnel complex, where his rockets are being assembled by concentration camp prisoners, working 12-hour shifts on bare rock floors, dying at a rate the camp administration tracks in weekly reports, records of requests, his requests, for additional prisoner labor when production falls behind schedule. The file is complete. The file is damning. The Americans read every word of it. Then they put it in a classified folder, write a new one, and bring him to Texas. But to understand why, you have to understand what April 1945 looks like from Washington. The war in Europe is ending, and the orders coming down from the Joint Chiefs are not about victory celebrations. They are about a different race entirely. The Soviet Union is closing in on Germany's research facilities from the east. American forces are closing in from the west. Both governments understand what is inside those facilities. Both governments want the same thing, the technical knowledge behind the V2 rocket, the world's first ballistic missile, a weapon that travels faster than sound, cannot be intercepted, and has spent 2 years falling on London and Antwerp without warning. The men who built it understand things about propulsion, guidance, and atmospheric re-entry that no one in America has yet worked out. The Cold War has not officially started. The people making decisions in Washington already know it is coming. Operation Paperclip is authorized by the Joint Chiefs of Staff in 1945. President Truman approves it with one explicit written condition: no active Nazis, no war criminals. The program will recruit German scientists, but it will not import the Reich's worst into American institutions. That condition is in the authorization document. It is also, from the first week of operation, completely ignored. The reason is documented, and it is simple. The scientists America most wants are precisely the ones Truman's condition excludes. The men who ran the most advanced weapons programs in Nazi Germany were not bystanders to the Reich. They were officers. They were party members. Several of them had already been assessed as war criminals by American military intelligence before the recruitment began. The JIOA, the Joint Intelligence Objectives Agency, the body responsible for vetting recruits, looks at Truman's condition, looks at its list, and solves the problem the only way available to it. It rewrites the files, not through selective omission, not through careful framing. The JIOA physically replaces the original personnel files, the ones containing SS ranks, Nazi party membership numbers, wartime activities, with sanitized versions. The originals go into a classified folder. The replacements go to the Immigration and Naturalization Service, which is responsible for issuing security clearances. One man, 2 files, both created by the United States government. When the INS flags von Braun's application, someone has seen his real record and recommends denial. The JIOA overrules it in writing, resubmits the clean file, and von Braun is cleared. He has already been living in Fort Bliss, Texas for 2 years. He is already working. The clearance is a formality for a decision that was made the moment American forces reached his rocket facility and found him waiting with his hands up and his technical documents in a briefcase. He is not the most damning name on the list. Arthur Rudolph is the operations director of the Mittelwerk, the underground factory at Dora-Mittelbau, where the V2 rockets are assembled. He does not visit the factory, he runs it. His daily production reports are meticulous. They document output figures, component defect rates, and labor allocation. The labor being concentration camp prisoners transferred from Buchenwald and Bergen-Belsen. His reports also document the hangings, when prisoners are caught sabotaging components, scratching guidance systems, urinating in fuel lines, doing anything available to them to make the rockets fail. They are executed inside the tunnel complex, strung from the overhead crane in front of the assembled workforce as a production management tool. Rudolph's reports note these events the way they note everything else. Flatly, numerically, 20,000 people die at Dora-Mittelbau. A 1945 US Army intelligence assessment of Rudolph uses specific language, 100% Nazi, dangerous type. It recommends he not be used. In 1950, Arthur Rudolph is working at Redstone Arsenal, Alabama. In 1961, NASA appoints him project director of the Saturn V rocket program. He holds that position until 1969. He is in the room, he is running the room when Apollo 11 launches. The mission that defines the 20th century is managed by a man whose own wartime production reports document 20,000 deaths. There is still more. Kurt Blome is the deputy Reich health leader and director of the Nazi biological weapons program. He runs the institute at the University of Posen in occupied Poland, a facility surrounded by a 10-foot wall, guarded by a dedicated SS unit, and designed around the production of plague, cholera, anthrax, and typhoid as weapons. He infects concentration camp prisoners with plague on direct orders from Himmler. He is indicted at the Nuremberg doctors' trial alongside 22 other defendants. 7 of those defendants are hanged. Blome is acquitted, not because the tribunal doubts his involvement, but because the prosecution cannot produce documentary evidence connecting him to specific individual deaths rather than the program he designed and ran. The tribunal notes his guilt is strongly suspected. It is not enough for a conviction. 2 months after that acquittal, US Army representatives from Camp Detrick, Maryland, are sitting across a table from Blome. They are not there to retry him. They are there to ask what he knows about Soviet biological weapons research. He tells them. In 1951, the US Army Chemical Corps hires him. His file makes no mention of Nuremberg. His Nuremberg acquittal has already done the work of making him officially clean. By the time the full scale of the program becomes public, more than 1,600 German scientists, engineers, and technical specialists have been brought to the United States under Operation Paperclip and its successor programs. Among them, over 760 have files that American intelligence specifically identified as requiring sanitization. Records altered to conceal SS ranks, Nazi Party membership, and wartime activities. They hold security clearances. They live in American suburbs. Their children attend American schools. Their neighbors know them as the quiet men who work at the base. Their employers know what is in the classified folders. For nearly 40 years, almost none of this is public. The first crack is not a leak. It is a journalist with a FOIA request and enough patience to wait years for a response. In 1985, Linda Hunt publishes a detailed account of Operation Paperclip in the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists. She has spent years filing Freedom of Information Act requests, personnel files, JIOA records, Army intelligence assessments. What she receives is not complete, but it is enough. The sanitized files sit in the same archive as the originals they replaced. The overruled INS recommendations are there. The Army intelligence reports calling recruits dangerous Nazis are filed inches from the clean versions submitted in their place. Hunt expands the research into a full book, Secret Agenda, published in 1991. The government does not challenge a single document she cites. It declines to comment. 1 year before Hunt's article runs, the Justice Department's Office of Special Investigations quietly approaches Arthur Rudolph. The OSI has his wartime production reports. It has his labor requisition records. It has his own handwriting documenting everything. A deal is arranged in private. Rudolph renounces his American citizenship, boards a plane to West Germany, and is never charged with anything. NASA releases no statement about what his file contained. His departure is reported in a paragraph in a handful of newspapers. Most people never see it. His American pension continues until his death in Hamburg on January 1st, 1996. In 1998, the Nazi War Crimes Disclosure Act passes. Every US government agency is required to declassify records related to Nazi war criminals. The CIA, the FBI, the Army, and the State Department release files classified for more than 50 years. The documents confirm the sanitization process in specific procedural detail. They confirm that the JIOA knew the wartime records of its recruits at the time of recruitment. They confirm that Truman's exclusion condition was never enforced on a single significant case. The files are deposited at the National Archives. They have been available to the public since 1998. Wernher von Braun dies in 1977. 2 years before his death, President Ford awards him the National Medal of Science. His obituaries describe him as the father of the American space program. Time magazine places him among the most important figures of the 20th century. None of this is factually wrong. At the moment of his death, the classified folder containing his original SS file still exists. It will be another 21 years before the law forces it open. Yves Bayonne is a French resistance fighter, arrested in 1943 and sent to Dora-Mittelbau. He survives. In 1985, he publishes a memoir, Planet Dora, describing the tunnel complex from the floor up. The sleeping arrangements carved into bare rock, the executions on the factory floor, the sound of rockets being tested overhead while the men who built them died beneath them. He names Rudolph. He names the management structure. He names what it means to build something for people who have decided your life is a line in a production report. Bayonne watches the moon landing on television in 1969. The rocket on his screen is the Saturn V. The man who directed its construction is Arthur Rudolph, whose name Bayonne will write into his manuscript 16 years later. Bayonne is alive when that manuscript is published. He is alive when Rudolph boards the plane to Hamburg. He dies in 1992, 4 years before Rudolph. Operation Paperclip's logic is specific and it is documented, and it does not end with the space race. The argument that certain knowledge is valuable enough to exempt its holder from accountability is not a single wartime decision. It is a template. The JIOA files show a government concluding that what a man knows matters more than what a man did. That calculation does not appear once in American history. It reappears in other programs, in other decades, in other folders, some of which have since been opened and some of which haven't. The rocket is real, the achievement is real, the engineering is extraordinary, and the men who built it understood things about physics that genuinely changed the world. The men who died in the tunnels understood something too. They understood it from the inside, in the dark, 12 hours at a time. They understood that the rocket passing overhead was not being built for them, that the century it was opening was not opening for them, that the most powerful government on earth had read a file about the man who ordered their conditions, had read every word of it, and decided with complete information that he was worth more than they were. That decision is at the National Archives. It has been there since 1998. The question is not whether anyone knew. The question is how many people, in the 27 years since those files opened, have chosen not to look. This file is now unsealed. Subscribe, and you'll be there when the next one opens. The vault never stays closed.